Developing tonight, new reports that nearly 13,000 illegal unaccompanied minors just from Guatemala have been detained at our southern border this year. Only about 100 of them have been deported. This comes as we're learning a Mexican military helicopter crossed the border, firing on our Border Patrol agents. Let's talk about it with Guy Benson, a columnist at townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. All right, Guy, we have seen these images from the border. They are heartbreaking. I mean, I've seen that came from a member of Congress. I've seen pictures that show kids that are basically in chain link fences. I mean, this is a horrible situation. Everyone's heart goes out to these kids. But, you know, there are questions about what the administration did potentially to create the situation and now what they're doing to clean it up.
Yeah, well, what we're seeing is clearly appalling. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I think this entire episode serves to really illustrate what strikes me as a huge disconnect between the way Washington, D.C. thinks about the issue of immigration versus the rest of the country. Here in this city, and you're down here all the time, Shannon, you know how things operate. People are looking and gaming out the issue of immigration sort of through a political lens. There are elections to be won. There are constituencies to placate and please and that sort of thing. But the American people are looking at the images from the southern border, and they're drawing the just clear conclusion. I don't think it's really a conclusion that can be debated, that our southern border is not secure. And even though most people, according to polls, are open to some sort of comprehensive immigration reform, they look at what's happening and they wonder, perhaps dubiously, does the federal government have the capacity to fix this problem comprehensively or otherwise?
Well, it's interesting to me because you see a couple of different things here. DHS Secretary Jeh Johnson, a couple of weeks ago, when he had a press conference talking about these kids and what was happening down there, said that he knew when he was being confirmed and sworn in, and that's months ago, that this was coming. He said the administration had, a sense that these numbers were coming up. They were ratcheting up very high, that these kids were coming, more of them would be coming. He said he's been aware of this for months. And so now we see, he and the president standing up and saying, hey, if your children come here, they're not going to get to stay. But then when we look at the numbers of what really happens, Washington Examiner crunched the numbers and found that 90% of these people who get here, who are processed and given a court date, you need to come back in, 90% of them do not show up. They stay in this country. And, one of the border agents is quoted as saying, if they say this isn't amnesty, they're lying, because the law may say one thing, they may say one thing, but the reality of how this plays out, nobody's going home. Not nobody, but not a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I think that Secretary Johnson's predecessor, Janet Napolitano, last year during the immigration debate, remember what she said? She said the border is as secure as it's ever been. And she was hoping, and the administration was hoping, that there was some baseline, a prerequisite for moving forward on a comprehensive plan to figure out what to deal with all the people, or how to deal with all the people who are already here. But once that rumor of the magnet, of that rumored amnesty, however you want to term it, amnesty or otherwise, once that started percolating throughout Central America, we've had tens of thousands of unaccompanied children showing up, streaming across the southern border. It's patently obvious. It is manifestly clear that the border is not secure. That's a real problem across the political spectrum for most Americans.
Yeah, and those kids are put in very dangerous situations to get here.
Oh, it's terrible.
Guy Benson, good to see you.
You too.
Still ahead, a sneak peek at a new film about the